You know that plant you see literally everywhere? In office lobbies, sitting on desks, tucked into the corner of waiting rooms? Well, it turns out it's way more than just decoration. Today, we're going to dive into the surprising science that makes the Aglaonema, you might know it as the Chinese Evergreen, a high-performance biological machine, one that's perfectly engineered for our modern world.
But first, let's just ask the question we've all thought about. Why is the modern office a total plant graveyard? I mean, think about it. You've got bone-dry air blasting from the HVOC system, fluorescent lights that are on a strict 9-to-5 timer, and a watering schedule that is, let's be honest, pretty random. It is a brutal, unforgiving environment for most living things.
But what if I told you that there's a plant out there that doesn't just survive these conditions, but was basically pre-adapted for them over millions of years? Well, meet the hero of our story, the Aglaonema. It is the answer to the office problem, and the science behind how it does it is just fascinating.
So, how in the world did this one plant become the undisputed champion of the office? Its journey is pretty incredible, really. It starts way back on the dimly lit floors of rainforests in Southeast Asia, and it ends up in the fluorescent-lit fortress of your modern office building.
For centuries, it just grew wild, happy in the deep shade of tropical canopies. Then, in the 19th century, a botanist finally described and named it. By 1885, it had made its way to the West. And then, in the mid-20th century, designers had a light bulb moment. They realized its natural adaptations made it the absolute perfect plant for this brand new world of air-conditioned office buildings.
And that brings us to its first and maybe most important superpower. Its incredible ability to not just get by, but to actually thrive on artificial light. This is truly a masterclass in low-light photosynthesis. Okay, so here's the deal with artificial light. For most plants, fluorescent light is like junk food. It's super heavy on the blue wavelengths, but it's missing the rich red light they crave, so they get all weak and pale. The Aglaonema, on the other hand, has this amazing ability called spectral plasticity. It basically evolved to be a specialist, becoming incredibly good at using that exact blue light that just happens to dominate our office environments.
So how does it do it? Well, its secret weapon is a much higher concentration of a pigment called chlorophyll B. The easiest way to think of it is like a booster pack for its solar panels. This specific pigment is a master at soaking up blue light and funneling that energy right into the plant's engine. It's just a beautiful, elegant piece of evolutionary engineering. But come on, thriving in low light? That's just the beginning. The Aglaonema has an even more famous talent. It is a NASA-validated, bona fide clean air machine. It is literally scrubbing the air you breathe while you're sitting at your desk.
And listen, this isn't some marketing gimmick. The landmark 1989 NASA Clean Air Study, the one that started it all, specifically called out the Aglaonema as a primary agent for removing harmful chemicals from the air. This study is the gold standard, and our little office plant was one of its star performers.
Let's just look at the hard data for a second. The study measured how good it was at removing common office pollutants. We're talking about formaldehyde, which leaches out of new furniture and carpets, and benzene from stuff like printing inks and plastics. And as you can see, those removal rates are pretty darn significant, especially for benzene. And to make that even more real, look at this number. A single Aglaonema plant can pull 183 micrograms of formaldehyde out of the air every single hour. That's a nasty chemical that's all over our modern buildings, and your desk plant is actively taking it out of the air for you.
So how does it actually do it? It's this brilliant two-step process. First, those big, broad leaves act like sponges, absorbing airborne toxins through tiny little pores. But here's the cool part. The toxins are then sent down to the root zone, where a whole ecosystem of friendly microbes literally breaks them down and eats them for lunch. The plant and the soil work together like a complete self-sustaining filtration system.
Okay, so it handles bad lighting and it cleans your air. But what about its most beloved, most famous feature? It's built to survive being forgotten about. Let's get into the science of how this thing is basically forget-proof.
The moment you forget to water it, this incredible internal survival sequence kicks off. The plant senses the drought and immediately releases a hormone called abscisic acid. That hormone is basically a lockdown command. It signals all the pores on the leaves to slam shut, trapping every last bit of moisture inside. Then it switches to emergency rations, living off water and starches stored in its stems, all while firing up its internal defenses to protect its cells from damage. And here is the proof of just how powerful that defense system is. In one study that simulated a 24-day drought, the activity of a key protective enzyme inside the plant shot up by 184%. It's basically flooding its own system with antioxidants to stop stress from causing damage. It is actively fighting to stay alive while it waits for you to remember where you put that watering can.
Now, to really put that in perspective, let's compare it to another really common office plant, the peace lily. You know the one. After about a week of neglect, it dramatically wilts and can even suffer permanent damage. The Aglaonema, it can comfortably go 2, even 3 weeks without any water at all. It's just playing in a completely different league of toughness.
All right, now for its final trick. You know those beautiful red, pink, and silver patterns on the leaves? Well, they are not just for show. The science of its color reveals that its beauty is also its armor.
Those really vibrant reds and pinks you see in the popular varieties, they come from pigments called anthocyanins. And yeah, they look absolutely incredible, but they're also serving a vital protective purpose for the plant. The simplest way to think about it is this. These pigments are the plant's own built-in biological sunscreen.
And this sunscreen is incredibly sophisticated. It shields the plant's most sensitive energy-producing cells from getting fried. It also acts as a buffer against the shock of sudden light changes, like when the harsh office lights all flick on at 8 a.m. This prevents the plant's engine from stalling out, which lets it keep producing energy smoothly. Its color is pure, beautiful function.
So, we've seen all this incredible science that makes this plant the perfect office survivor. But there's one last piece to the puzzle. Why does just having it around make us feel better? Well, the answer might lie in something called the biophilia hypothesis. This idea that we humans are actually hardwired with a biological need to connect with nature and other living things.
What that means is your office plant isn't just a pretty object sitting on your desk. It's actively fulfilling a deep-seated, ancient need to have life around us, which research shows can reduce our stress and actually improve our focus. In a way, it's a silent partner in our own well-being.
So let's just recap the champion's final stats. It's a master of low light. It's a proven air-purifying machine. It's almost impossible to kill through neglect. And its stunning beauty is actually a key piece of its survival gear. It really is the total package.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought. After seeing all the science, is your office plant just a piece of green decoration, or, quietly, without ever asking for a single thing in return, is it actually your hardest working coworker?